and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right, with that being said, let's get started with our first segment of the day. So, we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I know there's a lot of people who aren't huge fans of her. Of course, a lot of vote blue no matter who. You got your TYT, you got majority report. Everyone hates Tulsi. Tulsi was smeared by the Democratic establishment. And so no surprise, she's showing up on Fox News. And yes, she's spoken at a few conservative events as well. To which I have to say, after what the Democratic Party and corporate media did to her by smearing her, it should surprise anybody at this point.
This is like she's like the story of that one person in that one corporation that was on the board that was up and coming. That the board was about to, the CEO was about to make a move that was really, really, really bad for the board and everyone else. And she's that one person that everyone thought was an up and comer. Was like, hey, that's a really terrible idea. You're an idiot for doing it. And then everyone shunned her, and then when the thing came to pass, everyone shunned her, and then everyone's all of a sudden like, why is she working for that other company? I don't get it. What motivation could she possibly have?
So let's rewind back the clocks just a little bit, because, again, everything that Tulsi Gabbard is saying on these Fox News segments where she's calling out the Democratic establishment, the Biden corruption and his family, Nancy Pelosi and her corruption, as well as big tech, I have to say, look, she's not in Congress anymore, so she can't make any legislative decisions. She's a private citizen, so she has the right to free speech and to go wherever she wants to speak her mind. So let's talk about what happened to her. In 2016, she made the courageous move in actually standing in solidarity with Bernie Sanders to call out the fact that the DNC was working with the Clinton campaign to deny Bernie Sanders the nomination. To Bernie Sanders' point, he let it happen. So there we go. Then, in 2020, she ran a campaign for her own presidential campaign, and she was smeared by corporate media. They called her a Putin puppet, an Assad apologist. They said that she was going to run for third party, that she was going to join the Republican Party, she was going to run in Trump's campaign, that she was there to sabotage the Democrats, which none of it happened. All that was fake news. And again, I don't know how Tulsi Gabbard walked through all those smears because they were smears.
Well, the thing is, though, that she sort of didn't. She's definitely changed since then.
Yeah, of course. But I'm impressed on how well she has composed herself. That's why I think we should make very clear here. So the thing is, when it comes down to it, all these smears, all these attacks on her character, it'll cause anyone to really break away from it. And let's face it, her parting words about Congress on Joe Rogan's show was, Congress is like high school. None of these people have developed mentally past high school. You've got politicians who are in their 80s and 90s who still think that who thinks that's still the 9th or 10th grade in high school, which is, again, pretty childish when you look at the Democratic Party as a whole. So, with that being said, I want to play this first video segment. And yes, it's on Fox News, but it's hard for me to disagree with anything that she's saying when she's speaking the truth and calling out how hypocritical corporate media is, the Democratic Party, and big tech truly is. Let's play this first video.
How does it make you feel when you see people just get away with things? If your mugshot was out from a DUI, mine, come on, it would be out there. Or you smoke crack, waved around a loaded hot gun in front of a prostitute. You think you'd be able to get away with that? Tulsi?
The answer is no, but also I would never do any of those things. First of all, let's just put that out there straight.
Thanks for clearing that up.
It pisses me off, it is this double standard that you're talking about between those in power and then there's the rest of us. We see it in all the examples that you showed here. We see it with this insider trading that Pelosi does and has been doing for quite some time, but is also very blatantly advocating for. I introduced legislation in Congress to prohibit members of Congress and their spouses from trading in stocks, period, for even any perception of insider trading, because your job is to serve the people and not, cushion your own bank account. But one of the hypocritical things I see, you pointed out a number of them, one of the hypocritical things I see here is that President Biden and his administration take a lot of time touting how great our democracy is around the world and how we follow the rule of law and so on and so forth, and that autocracies with oligarchs should look to us to copy what we do. And yet we have this living example of the oligarchs of America in people like Pelosi and Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, showing exactly what our democracy should not be.
Let's pause right here for one quick second, because I want to at least make something very clear. During the 2020 primary, of course, there was a lot of back and forth between all the different debates. Yes, Tulsi Gabbard demolished Kamala Harris, which is a fact, but we have to remember that when she ended her campaign, Tulsi did endorse Biden at the time, but at this point,
there's a lot of stuff that Tulsi's done that's not good.
Yeah, and so, but then again, at this point, she was wiping her hands clean of her congressional career. She resigned, and I know there's a lot of people that are still upset with her and call her this big threat, which I have to say, show me where in Congress Tulsi Gabbard is representing somebody, because she is a former representative. That's the key word. So of course, she's going to go on any news show or any talk show to speak her mind and perspective.
And I think what people are chatting saying is, which I think is a very fair point, is that, and we've said it a lot of times before when talking about Tulsi, is she has a lot of things that are really bad that she's done, she's voted on. The fact that right now, I think people are making a fair point also that she's sort of become an opportunist. My point to it is that she's sort of been forced into a role like that, in that she, the way she was kicked out of the Democratic Party. But she still says stuff that no one else says.
Right, and I want to bring this up here. Look, in 2020, when it came down to the Hunter Biden laptop story, now we almost got a strike for that when we were covering it. But the thing is, that story was deemed by the Democratic Party, by corporate media, as fake news. You couldn't share that story on Twitter. You couldn't share that story on Facebook. They were doing everything they could. And only a few months ago, in April, I believe, is when the New York Times and Washington Post, which you'll be talking about later, Daniel, confirmed that story to be real. And again, the Democratic establishment, they want to tout themselves as being the good guys. And Daniel has brought this up too. We have brought this up so many times. The Democrats say the correct things that could get them seats in power if they took the initiative, but they're not going to do it. They're just as disgusting as the Republican Party. So with Tulsi calling out the fact that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in Congress are doing insider trading, that's a fact. Just like the GOP House representative. These are facts. These are things that cannot be disputed. You have lawmakers in the Democratic Republican Party doing insider trading deals with them and their family members so that they can get rich. And then, of course, you have, again, the failure of the Biden-Harris administration, how they dropped the ball on everything. Tell me where Tulsi Gabbard is making a mistake. And yes, to be fair, yes, she is making opportunist moves at this point, but I really can't blame her. And look, if she chooses to get involved in politics, good luck to her. But she does have a voice, and she has every right to share it. Let's play the rest of the video.
Or some psycho autocrat, and you see some of the crooked stuff that's going on in this country with Hunter, the money, with Paulie P, all of this stuff. You got political opponents being shackled with leg irons, hauled off a plane. Come on, you can't make hay out of that in a little propaganda piece.
Exactly, and if you describe that without talking about names or where it was taking place, that's what a normal person would think. Like, what foreign country is this happening in? Because that's not the America our founders envisioned for us. That's not what we are supposed to be about in this country. And that's where it's so disheartening to see that the very people we have in charge are the ones dishonoring that vision our founders had and abusing that power.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't get the mugshot, so we had to do a sketch. Okay. Some of the producers put together a sketch of what we think maybe the mugshot would look like. And we'll show that for you. We put it up earlier in the week. And this Amanda woman who runs the California Highway Patrol, I mean, she knows what she's doing. You can't have someone, there she is, you can't have someone arrested. And if their numbers up, if you're as interested in we are in getting the mugshot and the body cam footage, that's how you contact her. It's a political position. Obviously knows she's got a little hot potato sitting in the department's office, and she can't not know that they're not releasing it. I mean, we've been banging the door down, so what is she hiding?
Yeah, I mean, that is the real question. When you're showing that picture and you're looking at this person who's in a leadership position of those who wear the uniform, who are charged with enforcing the law, and you see this intentional cover-up, you see this very direct and blatant abuse of power, is exactly why people start to lose faith and trust in these institutions that are supposed to represent the rule of law and that are supposed to represent the best public interest, not the interests of Nancy Pelosi and her husband.
All right. Tulsi Gabbard, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right.
Now, what are they talking about in regards towards withholding information? They're talking about how Ice Cream Nancy Pelosi's husband, had a DUI. And it turns out he had a mugshot. And for 4 hours, they waited until they gave him a breathalyzer test.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't his first run-in with the law, by the way, in regards to drinking and driving. And by the way, we here at Hard Lens Media at 99 Perspectives say, kids, don't drink and drive. I mean, come on.
You might spill your drink.
Yeah, but well, there we go. All right. So the thing is, that is a situation. And we need to hear everyone's perspective and point of view. Now, I want to bring up something else here, too. This is where Tulsi Gabbard, again, being on Fox News, is talking about internet censorship and how she has been shadow banned on Instagram and how even during the 2020 primary, her name was the most searched name during one of the debates where she demolished Kamala Harris was hidden by Google. I think it's important for us to bring this up because if they could do that to Tulsi, look, they could do it to anyone. Hard Lens Media is still suffering from many of our shadow bans and strikes, which is why I still get messages from a lot of people saying, how come I was unsubscribed? I was unsubscribed from Jimmy Dore's channel 3 times. I never do that. If I'm going,
the amount of people that have come to us and been like, I didn't know you guys still had a show. I thought you guys just went away.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that it's drawn down like that. But again, this is why we're against cancel culture and censorship, because it's stupid, it's pointless, and it causes more problems than it solves them. Let's play this video if we can.
Yeah, the board will have to eat it. You heard it from Dana Perino, filthy lady. Tulsi, isn't he doing what anybody should do when they're buying something? Check under the hood?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that all the attention is being focused on this because it's Elon Musk and also because of why he's doing this, right? As a quote unquote free speech absolutist, I think people recognize how much it's needed, how dangerous it is that we have people in our government working with big tech and many in the mainstream media to essentially advance like a specific narrative. It's a de facto propaganda department. And if you are not in line, then you will be censored. And I saw this in my presidential campaign. Google suspended our ads account on the first debate. I was the most searched candidate. They suspended the account right when people were looking for me most. Just last month, Instagram shadow banned me. If you searched for Tulsi Gabbard, you wouldn't find my name anywhere. There's so many different examples of this, and the real danger is it is a threat to our marketplace of ideas and our democracy. And so I hope he looks under the hood. I hope he continues. Twitter will be one example, but obviously it's a larger issue, and hopefully others will kind of take heed.
Yeah, Judge, what's funny and a problem for
Okay, so why did we play that video? Because it's important that we talk about censorship and what's happening with social media. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter have a long history of censoring people and suppressing free speech. I don't hear any progressive lawmakers like AOC or Bernie Sanders or the entire Congressional Progressive Caucus talking about this. Now,
Actually, technically, even going a step further, I was literally just listening to a video of ALC demanding that we all use Latinx, even though the vast majority, I think 97% of Hispanic population don't use that, and I think 40% haven't even heard of it. But I remember, ironically, you know where Latinx is most used? High income circles.
Oh, the defenders of the lifestyle of the rich and famous. So there we go. So again, but the reason why I'm playing those two videos, at least, look, Tulsi Gabbard's a former representative. She's going to go, she can do whatever she wants. But I think it's important that we hear people talk this out, because ideally, what I would like to see is someone like or somebody from the Congressional Progressive Caucus talk about this. Talk about censorship.
It's like this again.
It should be one of them. Sorry.
You're right. It's like this is the thing where, and I think it's fair that everyone's like so split on Tulsi. I think it's sort of the point is that why is it that we have to keep bringing her up? Why is it? Because she's literally the only people that bring up these points of someone of that stature. You can find a bunch of people on YouTube making the same points Tulsi Gabbard makes. We make a number of points that she would make on like war and things of that nature. But it just still blows my mind to this day that it's like she's kind of if you want to talk about like anyone that has Congress related experience, senator, anything of that nature, that is not, hey, we should go to war with everyone all the time. No matter, we shouldn't do no drawdown. She's still like the only person that anyone could, if someone can get me a better name, I would love to bring them up. Someone that has been in Congress, served in the Senate, served as president, who is who at least has anti-war statements. Like, that's how interesting the situation is.
Mm-hmm. And adding a little bit more to it, because again, audience, I see what all of you are talking about, and I know some of you are split on Tulsi. I understand this, but we have to talk about the future of free speech, and this is the future of Hardlens Media, Revolutionary Blackout Network, Convo Couch, the Mikasu Network, Jimmy Dore, anyone that's independent media that goes against the neoliberal narrative. The censorship is extremely real. And there are days where I have conversations with Daniel of, okay, what stories can we talk about? How can we do this? Which is why occasionally we'll only do a Rockfin only exclusive program where we just do half the show on YouTube and the other half will be on Rockfin, Odyssey, Rumble, and Twitch. Now, I don't want to do that, but this is the escalation that YouTube has done, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter has done to a lot of content creators. And again, through patrons, you guys are keeping us alive, and we cannot thank you enough. But the sad fact is, I could think many years ago, in 2018, 2017, we didn't have these problems. Yes, there were problems there. To be very clear, there were. But even rewinding back the clocks even further, it wasn't as bad. But now everyone is in this pathway of super fast censorship to silence anyone. And so why we play these videos of Tulsi Gabbard is because you have a former representative bringing it up. Now, is she wrong on a lot of other issues? Absolutely. But when it comes down to the future of what we do here for independent media, what happens to everyone? Look, we are all at risk of being put on a chopping block, especially with what's happening to a certain individual in the European hemisphere who, if is ever sent here, well, hey, then we not only have to tiptoe around eggshells, we have to tiptoe around landmines, okay? And I hope it doesn't escalate to that point. I don't want to see that happen. But we have to talk about this, and we have to be very clear, and we should demand real responsibility from our leadership. But when we look at our leadership, we have the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. They don't give a damn. And AOC, I played this video last week on Monday, where she's saying it's hard for me to sleep. It's hard to be a normal person in Congress. You were sent there, AOC, and all of your other fantastic friends in the Congressional Progressive Caucus to raise the ruckus. And that's a perfect segue to this other final point I want to bring up. I want to just read a few short excerpts from this article, and that has to deal with the fact that the same Congressional Progressive Caucus, AOC included, Nancy Pelosi's husband brought up to $2.1 million worth of Apple Microsoft shares. Now, again, early last year in 2021, it was brought up the fact that Congress, a lot of congressional representatives, including Ice Cream Nancy and her husband, were doing insider trading deals. These elected officials are getting rich. They are playing the game, and they're not going to enforce any regulations upon themselves or their family members. So when Tulsi Gabbard goes on Fox News and calls them out, you don't have to like Tulsi, you don't have to like Fox News, but the words that she's saying about the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party, the hypocrisy of corporate media, and the dangers of big tech censorship, I can't argue with it. And I wish that there were more people who were in positions of power that really speak the truth, which is why, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say to your point, like I said earlier, like someone name me an alternative to Tulsi that says those same things, that is in Congress, was in Congress, Senate was in Senate, President was in President. And no one said anything. And that's kind of the point, is that she's such an anomaly that even with everything that's really bad about her, what she's sort of turned into, that there's really not anyone else to point to. That's how bad it is. It's a representation. It's like when I talk about case study QB. It's a perfect example. It's like when mainstream media does their lies, everyone's okay with it. When case study QB takes those lies and turns them into segments and he's not protected, all of a sudden that's a very bad thing. It's a show of where we're at and the cloud that's being cast over us. And the fact that, again, that Tulsi's someone you can bring up, and really the only person that can be brought up when talking about these is the travesty, is the disgrace that we're dealing with. But there is no other person when talking about these subjects that you can bring up that are in those categories that make those statements. So if you don't like Tulsi, that's an even bigger point. I think that's even more impactful to you, because just how bad Congress is.
Yep.
Is that these are the straws that we have to grasp at.
And I want to add on to this. So what is the solution? Well, I'm not going to vote Democrat or Republican. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing that game. If anything, I'll support ballot initiatives and I'll vote independent or vote third party. That's what I'll do. Everyone, you have the right to make your own choice, but we need to make movements and organizations and build infrastructure that is not connected to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, be it at the federal or state level. It's up to the people. And when the people lead, that's when leaders follow. So to our point, okay, there's no one in Congress doing it. It's up to us. You are that person.
You need to be the next person that gets into Congress that says the things that we can quote.
And dismantle this system. Not reform it, dismantle it and build something that can actually represent the people. That's a fact, and that's what we want to see. And you know what? Batter's up. You watching? It's your turn.